All right, it's going to call to order this meeting. It is February the 14th at 3:38. This is the Pickleball Working Group Committee. First, I need to get approval on the minutes from last month. Is that everything you guys approve?
Yes.
Who wants the first and then second?
Second.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Hey, I hope everybody's had the opportunity to view our First Selectman John Zagorski's video on pickleball. It was very well done. It speaks to the tremendous growth that the sport's experiencing, how the game is played, how it brings the community together, and the efforts we're making to expand our courts. This video can be viewed on the town website, if anyone hasn't seen it yet. But it's John did a great job, really great job with this video. So please check it out. I'd like to start with an update from Sarah on pickleball activity in surrounding towns. As we all know, pickleball is continuing to grow immensely and being embraced by just about every town in Connecticut. Some have more room than others. I've seen articles like in Milford where they have as many as 20 courts dedicated to it, all in one facility. Unfortunately here, we don't have as much space to have that grander plan, but again, we are hoping to add some, as you know, and that's the purpose of this committee. So, Sarah, if you could just speak a little bit to the numbers in our surrounding towns, that'd be great.
So in Norwalk, there's currently 9 to 10 that are outdoor dedicated courts. They have 3 additional ones at the Rowayton train station. There's 8 being built at the Rowayton Elementary School, and the Sport House has 6 indoor ones as well. New Canaan has the 4 indoor courts at the New Canaan Racquet Club. They have 5 outdoor courts at Mead Park, and the high school is in the process of converting their tennis courts to pickleball courts. Greenwich has 9 hybrid courts.
Excuse me, are they relining them or converting them totally?
They're going to make them hybrid so they can play tennis or pickleball. So Greenwich has 9 hybrid outdoor courts, 6 dedicated courts, and they're looking at adding a lot more. And then in Stamford, Pickleball America has 13 on one floor. They're going to add another 15 on another floor, and they have 6 outdoor courts at Scalzi Park. And then I was told they have some at the hockey rink.
The hockey rink at Scalzi. They have the Scalzi tennis courts and the hockey rink.
And the hockey rink as well. So
Obviously a lot. I know you mentioned New Canaan High School converting a couple of courts over, or at least a hybrid anyway.
yeah, the Rowayton Elementary School.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard New Canaan High School
and
is
New Canaan
also,
High School,
the high school is also going to be converting 1 or 2 courts over. Greenwich has also converted a court over at the high school and in the process of doing a hybrid at a couple of courts. I've spoken to the folks at our high school. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough courts, and they're used all the time by the high school tennis team, so we don't have the same opportunity to convert courts over to pickleball or even make them hybrid. They're used at all times, and they're used by the tennis teams. So that's not going to be for us. But obviously, I think that what this speaks to is that Darien is far behind other towns when it comes to pickleball. The demand is there. The sport's on fire. In 2023, we had almost 2,000 reservations for just the 4 courts that we have at Cherry Lawn. So, I mean, the sport's on fire. It's played outdoors when the temperature is above freezing and indoors throughout the year. Just last Saturday, I went up to Cherry Lawn and I observed the pickleball court was full throughout the entire afternoon. Now, granted, it was a beautiful day. It was 60-something degrees, right? But it was full all day. When I went at 2 o'clock, there were 6 people waiting for people to come off the court so that they could come on and use it. So that's how much of a demand there is, and pickleball people come out and play all times of year. When Gorham Pond froze over back in January and the kids were out there playing hockey, as they do every year, This year, for the first time, I saw people playing pickleball on skates on the ice. They actually had a net set up, and they were playing pickleball on skates. They cleared the snow, so it was crazy, you know? That's
Jim,
how
a
dedicated.
question, were there any tennis players at Cherry Lawn playing last weekend when there were all these pickleball players?
No, the tennis courts, there wasn't anybody on the tennis courts. No. So, I've also heard that Darienne's country clubs, all three, are in the process of, if they don't already, have pickleball courts. So that hybrid in some cases, but they're in the process of building them as well. So all three country clubs are going to have pickleball courts available as well. So, so again, it's on fire. The need is there. The demand is there. This committee has diligently worked to identify short and long-term solutions for the sport in this town. For short-term solutions, we've looked into possibly converting a tennis court, partnering with neighborhood associations that have courts, tiling the floor of the existing paddle courts, as I mentioned in our last meeting. And these paddle courts, of course, would be the ones at Weed during the paddle off-season. And we've also looked into establishing a partnership with Pickleball America in Stamford. Due to the scheduled and anticipated activity that we have on our tennis courts, we are not able to convert any tennis courts at this time on either Cherry Lawn or Weed Beach over to pickleball.
Who made that decision?
We just don't, the demand is there, the numbers are there. High school team plays both at Cherry Lawn as well as down at Weed Beach. Granted, it's only X amount of weeks a year, but they use it. There's a lot of lessons that are being given as well on those courts. And the Parks and Rec Commission already is on record for saying that we will not convert any courts
All
over.
right, I think that's short-sighted, but
It's something that we could, possibly revisit at some time, but as of right now, that's the case. I'd like to revisit the possibility of maybe putting down temporary lines that are not going to damage the new courts that we put in, but at this time, we need to think around the tennis courts, okay? We also found that there were neighborhood associations that had tennis courts weren't interested in partnering at this time as well. So that's something we can continue to pursue, but at this time, we're just like, no, we're not even thinking about it. And if they did, their own association would be filling those courts anyway. And we would also have parking issues with parking in those areas. We wouldn't have parking lots. So that's an issue as well. Now, we are in discussion to talking to Next Court, which is the company that is putting the tiles down on the paddleball courts around the country, and they're the ones that we're talking about possibly doing it down at Weed Beach. Jim Conklin, who is our acting Parks and Rec director, is hoping to have a conversation with them later this week to talk to them about the details, etc. But the feedback I've gotten from a couple of residents in town have been that their club had experimented with this tiling on the floor, and they were not happy with it. Now, it's not the same, may not be the same company we're talking to, okay? I don't know. The cost was different, so I'm assuming that it may not have been the same company. But anything that we decide to go with, we will obviously test out first before we make any kind of an investment. So we'd have to go view it and play on it, et cetera, talk to people who have played on it, et cetera, before we make any kind of commitment. But again, Jim should be having that conversation this week, and then we'll take it from there.
Did they give any reason for why they weren't happy with
It
the,
was the bounce of the ball
okay,
on the tiles. They said the tiles came together. It sounds a lot like the same, what Next Court is telling us they have, that they are snapped together. And
Right.
without any, once it's down, you don't have any seams, and it shouldn't have affected the trajectory of the ball. But their complaint was the ball, the way the ball went when it hit the ground, just did not have the same effect. In fact, because they did it on paddleball courts, they prefer now to play on the paddle
right,
floor versus that. Which, maybe in the long run, that's what we do. Maybe there's it's possible that we can convert one or two paddle courts just the way they are right now, because the dimensions of a paddleball court, the 34-inch net, is the same as a pickleball court. And again, we would have to test it out with some really dedicated paddleball players like yourselves.
I have played pickleball on a paddle court, and it is the same size. The problem is, a metal court in the summertime is beyond hot. Like, the heat that you get from the sun on a metal court, it's like a frying pan. It's just,
You have to play at night, or even under the lights, or, you know.
it's, yeah, and it's
Okay.
just such a rough surface. I mean, you can, it's so much grit on that metal court that people tend to trip a little bit, and, as we age, it's a sport that's welcomed so many different ages, but I think it'd be just an accident waiting to happen.
Okay.
And this was right on the paddle
Yeah.
court itself,
Yeah,
not the court.
I was at the Comfort Yacht Club this morning, and they have pickleball lines on their paddle court,
Uh-huh.
and that's what they were doing
Okay.
for matches.
So
Some of the
it's
clubs,
a combination of both, the heat, because in
Yeah.
the summer, and the bounce is not true as you would like it to be, or normally would.
yeah, some of these clubs are putting them on their hard true surface, which is easier on the body, but it's harder to play.
Interestingly, there's a summer league, with the clubs in town, that they played on hard true this past summer, or the last couple of summers. And this year, they decided for those clubs that have, paddle courts and don't have, pickleball courts, they're gonna allow the people to play on the paddle courts. So,
Okay.
So I think at least it's an option that, that they're gonna try.
So, but they wouldn't have the issue?
The hard true?
About the heat?
No, hard true is it's a clay, it's
That's
like
like
a
a
green
clay.
clay.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's softer on the
Yeah.
joints, it's a much cooler surface to play on.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, we don't have that,
Right.
and I don't know,
No.
I don't think that would be unfortunately an option for
No,
us. so.
well, it's not desirable to play on them. That's what the clubs have, so that's what they're
Right.
using.
Right, that's why these tiles would have, addressed that issue with the heat. So let's hope that, let's have Jim have that conversation. We'll go check it out in the towns that currently are working with Next Court. We'll see if it is the solution, but if the experience is the same as I've heard from local courts that have tried it, local clubs that have tried it, then it probably won't be a solution, unfortunately. Which brings us back to, unfortunately, not having any local or any near-term solutions other than Pickleball America. Now, Pickleball America, I was able to go over with Helen, and we met with Joe and Steve, who works with the town and giving instructions here at the town. And we discussed a partnership possibly with Pickleball America. Many Darien residents go over there now on the weekends and in the evenings to use the courts. It's a great facility, and they're even building on more. They're adding on a second floor, they're adding on a bar, they're adding on a lot of other things to it. And what we're hoping to have is an agreement that will dedicate a court to Darien residents 7 days a week. So there'll be a court put aside for Darien residents to come over and play whenever they want. Now, of course, there'll be fees as part of that. That's the part that we're still working out. Unfortunately, Helen's not here. She was tied up with work, so she wasn't able to make this meeting. But she's in the process of negotiating with them on a rate that would be a Darien rate for using those courts. And again, would always be available for Darien residents. So I'm sure we'll need more than one court. It sounds like a lot of people from Darien go over there to play right now.
Yeah.
I would much prefer to have the solution here in our backyard, right here in town, that you don't have to go down 2 exits on 95 to use it. But for now, that might be the short-term solution until we come up with a long-term.
With the fees to play on the court paid for the lease of the court for
Mhm.
Darien?
Yeah, yeah.
So it wouldn't be a separate fee that we'd have to pay just for the luxury of having that court to work?
Right.
For Darien, okay.
Right, I mean, I think there is a membership fee that's associated
Yeah,
with
right,
PEA, so you
right,
pay that.
right, no.
And then there would be a fee, whatever the fee would be then for using the court.
Right.
So you'd have it in the court reserve system, Like,
Mhm.
we use the pickleball for Cherry Lawn, we'd use that for Pickleball
not-
America.
You mean in the town
And then you pay
reservation?
through the town, or
No,
what do you say?
it would be dealing with Pickleball America. All it is that they would commit to, we would always have a court there when you went over to play, so. I mean, once that court's used, then we would have to take advantage of the inventory that they have for other courts, but at least we know we'll have one dedicated Darien court.
Right, so the people playing will pay for it, or?
Yeah,
Who pay, or the
You'll
town's
pay
just
for
gonna
it.
pay for it?
You wanna go-
If I'm gonna play,
you're gonna pay?
I'm
You
gonna
pay.
pay,
Right.
well, America.
Yeah, and that's the way it is now.
Yeah.
It's just that you're paying a fee of X,
Right,
that
to
fee,
get
that fee
a lower
will
fee.
probably be a lower fee, is what we're hoping for.
But if the courts are used only, say, half the time, I mean, or is the town gonna have to pick up the difference?
Yeah, the town is not affiliated with this at all.
Okay,
This is just an agreement that we would have.
okay.
I mean, I don't think the town would be affiliated. I don't think the town, I don't know, Cassie, I'll throw it over to you just to say, would the town want even to be affiliated with something like this, or probably want to stay to the side?
Right, so I do know one of the options we've sort of explored, but just due to staffing needs, we kind of need to reassess for the future, is the potential of offering maybe either lessons or some court time there, and kind of the same way that we do Kings Highway and tennis lessons, typically in the winter or fall months when we don't have tennis courts as available. In a scenario like this, I'm not 100% sure where the commission would maybe potentially need to weigh in or not in regards to any fees or anything. If it was a registration process where we'd have to go through our office and exchange money, I do believe it would need to go through the commission. But if it's just some sort of agreement, I believe, we'll just have to look at the logistics. Yeah, I think we can talk about it. I mean, obviously, as Parks and Rec, we want to be, in the loop on what's happening, because our office is going to get the calls.
Right.
But I think we need to, we have to also look at and assess if it's actually feasible. I'm not sure what all the costs are at Pickleball America. But, our courts here are $20 for an hour and a half. So unless someone really wants to play at Pickleball America,
Right.
they may not choose to go there at all if the fees are significantly higher.
I think they're about 4 times that, right?
Yeah, it's like $60 over there at least, anyway. I think we were talking like $60. Like, Steve, am I
Well, they have a
correct?
special discount for seniors, and that's something that,
Okay.
they have to consider and work with. I mean, it all depends
Right.
overall how much is coming in. They have to look at the whole picture, because there are a lot of people from Darien playing there,
Yes,
so.
okay. Again, Helen was gathering all this information, so unfortunately, I don't have the details on exactly what it was that she's able to negotiate, but that's what we're working towards. And right now, that's the only short-term solution that we have, that people would be able to start playing on those courts in the next 30 days. I mean, they're playing on it today, but they're paying a fee of X, but
Right.
playing underneath the banner of Darien. We're going to continue to work on a long-term solution. There are a couple of sites that we have in mind, but with every turn we make, there's a wall, right? As we've mentioned in the previous meetings, and we're all aware of it, there's noise issue, there's neighbor issues, there's cost issues, that come into play, as to where and when we would be able to build another permanent pickleball court. Okay, and that's what it would take. It would probably take actually building a new one, since we're not going to be converting any of the current tennis courts over.
It's a shame.
Okay?
Jim, what's the soonest you feel we can be online with a to-be-built court? I mean, is a year from now
It's 2 years.
feasible, or is it more like 2 years?
2 years is more reasonable.
So right now, we're
More
looking
realistic.
at a short-term solution of 1 court in Stanford as the only extra pickleball availability for potentially 2 more years.
Unfortunately, right now, yes.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
We could potentially offer select timeframes potentially in the gymnasium, similar to an open play, but because there's only 2 pickleball courts in our gymnasium here, we would have to go through some sort of charge process and limit it to about 8 to 10 people per time slot. The gymnasium is used a lot for a lot more programs than pickleball, so we'd really have to really assess, but that would be indoor play. Everybody just wants to be outside, and it's hard because our parks are so beautiful. We do have folks coming from all over the state and coming from all of the surrounding towns, so personally, I would say everyone comes to our open plays, start exploring their open plays, and if there are towns that have the non-resident, if they welcome non-residents as well. I know that's not the best solution, but it's something that people can try to consider too as well.
Right, so that's the indoor solution, but like you say, with the months coming up, starting in May, everybody wants to be outside, they want to play outside. A couple of folks have told me that they play in their neighborhoods. They act like they live in a cul-de-sac and they set up their own nets and they line their own courts and their entire neighborhood plays and they have their own competition, which is pretty cool, but that's how dedicated people are now. If they can't find the resources, being provided by the town, they're going to build them themselves. And if they have the land to do that, be it that they live in a cul-de-sac or they want to convert their driveways or whatever else into pickleball courts, that's what they're doing, just to play the sport. So, now Bob, I know 2 years does sound like a long way, and I would hope that maybe in a less amount of time, maybe a year, we would be able to figure something else out that could meet the short-term needs. But to answer your question about how long does it take to actually build a brand new one from scratch, going through the processes that we would have to go through, it's realistically 2 years, maybe a couple of months less. The other thing I was going to say, there was, forget now, but there was something Cassie had said that made me think of something else. This committee has done a hell of a job just trying to identify it, but as we all know, we've hit the wall on a lot of things, and every corner we turn, we hit a wall. So we're down to talking about next court, and we'll see what happens there with the paddleball courts. If that doesn't work, we'll see what it feels like to play actually on the paddleball. If heat becomes the issue, that will not be the solution for the summer. And then we will have indoor solutions, such as the gym here. I know the YMCA offers it as well to members to play there as well. And then maybe we can get a partnership with other things that are going on in surrounding towns. We could talk to the Ice House and other folks like that, where we can get partnerships with them to negotiate a rate, like we would be doing with Pickleball America, to have residents be able to go there and play.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I know you said that, the town has ruled on the cherry lawn courts, but just going back to our discussion last month, part of the reason that they ruled was actually twofold. One was a safety issue, a lot of traffic and so forth, and we found out last month that some of the camps are going to be moving. The kids' camps are going to be moving over to Highland, I think.
Right.
And then I think the other concern was, which has yet to be proved, in terms of the ball hitting a painted mark, that's going to affect the ball, which I think it's yet to be proved with any. I've never seen that happen. So I'm just wondering, given that, I think the safety, but at the end of the day, the safety issue seemed to be the kind of overriding concern. Since that is going to be at least partially, dealt with and diminished as a problem, wouldn't it be fair to maybe at least try to revisit that issue?
Well, and it's something that we could revisit, but other things have to go into place. The commission has already said that we have a congestion issue at Cherry Lawn. So a study's going to be done about that. There were things that caused it. such as we had a school bus picking up kids there that was causing issues at one point. We've eliminated that, they're no longer picking the kids up there. But we all know that there's only X amount of parking spots at Cherry Lawn. Yet the demand is there for soccer fields, for pickleball, for tennis courts, the playground, the gardeners, baseball. I mean, there's just a lot, going on in that one park. The study will tell us what the congestion issue is, what the kind of traffic that we're having. So we wouldn't be able to even address anything like that until the study is done.
And when is that going to be done?
And we have a new playground going in up there.
Study's being done.
Memorial Day, the new playground opens, which will generate probably additional traffic as well. So these things all need to be taken into consideration.
Right.
But when the study's done, and you're saying when will the study
Yeah.
actually be done? Not sure if it's in the spring. I don't know. Amy, do you know?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Cassie,
Still
have you
no,
heard?
I mean, I know it's on the agenda and we're.
I know the money's been approved.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure actually if it's gonna be, I would love to see it in the spring. It might be better to be done once the playground is up, so we have a better idea as to what kind of traffic is there. And the playground's gonna be in May, so maybe more like in June, but then the camps will be in place and all the other things as well. So I'll have to speak to the other commissioners as to what the plan is on that study, okay?
And sort of along those lines, so Weed Beach with a hybrid model pickleball court on one of the tennis courts, that is not an option?
It's not an option right now. The front courts are being used for lessons on a regular basis. There would be very little time allocated. The back courts, I believe, according to Jim, I know Cassie oversees pickleball, whereas Jim Coughlin oversees the tennis. But according to Jim, the back courts are reserved as well, right?
Our tennis numbers for lessons and camps and the lessons between JV and the high school other teams, I mean, those courts are packed all the time. When Jim looked at the schedule, there's maybe an hour here or there where people could potentially go out there and play, but not really necessarily on a huge consistent basis, so to lay something down may not be feasible. I know we've explored, temporary paint on Cherry Lawn courts down below. What I always say is, like, there's nothing stopping someone, like you mentioned before, from going and playing pickleball in their backyard or in their driveway or in any paved place. There's nothing really stopping anyone from going out there and just playing over the tennis nets. At the courts that we have at Cherry Lawn, it's just a matter of what people really want to do or don't want to do. You have diehard folks who only want to play in a pickle court. Same thing sometimes with tennis players or any sport, but then you have a group of people who are also willing to play on multi-use courts, and that doesn't faze them. So I think one of the things, aside from like the traffic study and things we need to assess, is just the understanding of what people really want, besides just more pickleball. Is it we want more pickleball that's only outside? Do we want more just dedicated pickleball? And then kind of assess some of the efforts there. But yeah, with the tennis, it's pretty booked back to back.
And the tennis courts the back tennis courts, you have to make a reservation to use it. You're supposed to have a reservation to use
They
those
do block
courts.
scheduling.
Right. So if it's not being used, you're allowed to walk on, but we do have actual numbers for those courts to back up
Right.
the amount of use that there is on it currently. I mean, we've talked about, and I'm not saying that this is something that we would do, because again, there's a process to go through. Is there room that we've cleared out a lot of land that the invasives have been moved out of there? Is there enough land to add another court back there that we could possibly dedicate to pickleball? It's just a thought at this point, nothing that is in stone or whatever, but again, it would have to go through the processes that we normally do before we build anything, and that's something that would be a good year and a half before it would actually be up and running. But again, that's just a thought. There's no way we're going to be able to build anything new at Cherry Lawn, so that's not going to happen. But we probably is the only other park that we would be able to do something like that at. If we can find another piece of property, somewhere else in town, that the town owns that we might be able to do something on, we could visit that. And I encourage anybody, the feedback of everyone in this town, with any thoughts that you might have about things that we could be doing in order to come up with solutions that we haven't thought of. Please feel free to email me or reach out, to Parks and Rec, okay? Is there anything else you guys want to add to the meeting, or any other thoughts that you have?
Did you go and look at by the middle school? You didn't mention that yet. Did you take a look at that? Or is it
We looked at the
snowing?
property that, where the senior center used to be on. And again, that's something that could be discussed, but it's not something that we can say we would be able to do. There's a lot of processes that go, yes, that's a piece of land that is owned by the town. Would the town agree to put a pickleball court there? We'd have to do a traffic study and all that stuff, on it, to determine whether it is appropriate use for that space. So, of course, we would look at any piece of land that the town owns and whether we're able to do it, but they're very small parcels, and there's a lot of things to take into consideration. So, it's not my saying. It's something that would have to be taken to the commission and then voted on and taken to the town, etc.
Again, best case, 2 years away.
Anything that's going to involve putting a shovel in the ground, 1.5 to 2 years away. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I know, we've worked hard on it, and I know we all feel bummed about that we don't have a short-term solution. It's just that we're very limited in what we can do, and that this is what we're faced with. So let's hope that maybe we find a solution with the paddle courts, being able to do something down there with 1 or 2 courts. The Pickleball Wrk agreement, I do think we'll definitely have numbers on that by next week, and I think that will be a solution. Unfortunately, not in the town of Darien, but a short ride away. And then we'll focus our efforts on long-term, that we feel are good long-term solutions that I'll take to the commission and see how that flies. But that's where we're at right now. Okay. Any public, I'll open it up to the public now, to if anybody would like to add anything or say anything.
I would, Amy During, 101 Brookside Road. I'm on the Parks and Rec Commission. I'm here to support Jim and you all in your efforts to figure out this pickleball problem. It's very distressing that we can't find a short-term solution, and I can see that you are all disappointed. Hopefully this surface on the paddle courts will work. Two things come to mind. One, while we're kind of talking that through, is there a way to galvanize the long-term solution quickly so that 1 to 2 years doesn't become 2 to 3 years, or really identify sites that'll work? We did talk about the Weed Beach site. That seems like a natural, and I understand that there's some paddle rackets that are coming out that are quieter. Or, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if those
Yeah.
are
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
appealing.
Yeah, I'm
Does
glad
that
you
work?
mentioned that, because that's something that, these paddle rackets supposedly will
Diminish the
muffle.
noise.
Well, yeah, diminish the
Yeah.
noise as the ball hits the paddle. And maybe that's something that will require, if you're going to play on any of our courts, you need to use these paddles.
Yeah, depending on,
Yeah.
how the neighbors are feeling about it
Right.
or something. So, I don't know how many courts we can fit down at Weed Beach, but I would be very supportive of looking to really start the long-term solution as soon as possible. And rack my brain about short-term solutions. I can't imagine that anyone can turn anything over that you guys haven't already.
Yeah. and I'm hoping to take to the commission within another month or so, the long-term solutions. At least be able to get the conversation started
Yeah,
so that we can explore those areas that we're talking about and see if if they're realistic, if we can actually do it. If we did build another court down at Weed Beach, and it would have to be like, we have 3 tennis courts in the back, and a 4th right next to it, same size as the tennis courts, but
so
it
that
would be,
means
but they would,
4 pickleball courts on
but they would be
one?
dedicated to,
Great,
yes,
okay.
to 4 pickleball courts on that property,
Yeah,
if we were to do that.
okay. So it wouldn't be like 2 tennis courts of 8 pickleball courts, it would be 1.
No, it would be four pickleball courts on one court that's the size of a tennis court.
Right, right. And Edgerton is also being explored.
Well, that's what Sarah had just mentioned, that's where the senior
Yeah.
center was.
Yeah,
It's it's just one of those
possible.
possible properties that we could look at. But again, we'd have to I have to take it to the commission and say, okay, here's the 3 things that we're looking at, 1, 2, and 3. And then we get into the whole discussion as to whether it's realistic or not, and then the cost, and the other issues that we have, the surrounding area, sound issues, et cetera, that we'd have to take into account. Yeah. So I'm hoping that at the end of March, I'll have all those things together. I'm gonna start working on numbers for long-term solutions, and then take that to the commission and say, here's what we're looking at. Yeah. Yeah, but we were hopeful of having a short-term solution, hopefully somewhere in town, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen in time for the spring. Other than the ones that we currently have, indoors at the gym, et cetera, the Y. The good news is that, I mean, if you belong to a club, they're all building their pickleball courts. So folks who do belong to any of the country clubs, will have access to courts there, and be able to take advantage of playing there. So we'd just like to open, to everybody else if we could. So, yeah.
I would just like to clarify for anyone who may be questioning whether Highland Farm was an opportunity or not, it is not, because you can't do any permanent structures there. Just for anyone who might have that thought in the back of their mind, because it is the biggest property of nice open space that I think that we have, that it's not Parks and Rec facility, but can't do permanent structures there.
And of course, every conversation we have, everybody says to me, well, what about Great Island? That too, it doesn't fall on the Parks and Rec at this time, and whether it will even going forward, but that's another whole separate committee that is overseeing that, and what the use of that land will be. So that's not something that we can really entertain at this time either. So that's where we're at, guys. We will, I'll get the numbers from Helen on the PPA agreement. If anybody hears of anything that you think might come up, if you hear from a neighborhood association that is now willing to partner with us and open up a tennis court that's not being used there and convert it over, we're all ears. But right now I'm going to focus my time on looking at long-term solutions and then bringing that to the commission. Okay?
I mean, short term.
Long-term. Short-term, we've exhausted our
Okay,
efforts.
okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. So I'll call for it. Cassie, anything else you want to add?
Just a
No?
thank you to everybody for your help with all the pickleball efforts and feedback. If we don't know there's any problems or anything going on, then we can't help find a solution. So thanks for being a part of the solution.
All right, so I'll call for an adjournment first.
Second.
Okay. It is now 4:18 on February 4th. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.